Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of the Blacklist. A great episode. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, you know, Anna's got the entire team locked up, and she's telling Harold, it's like, oh, the fact of the matter is, I'm going to offer this deal to you and you alone. You help us bring in Liz, and obviously he's like, no, I'm not going to. He's like, if you're going to send the rest of the team to prison, I'm going with them. And he's like, I wish you the best of luck if you're going to try and find Liz. And she's like, why are you wishing me luck? He's like, we're going to find her. And it's like, don't think you underestimate Agent Keen, which they do. Liz working with Reddington. For one, he's got Tadashi. I love Tadashi's helping out. He's like, you know, I'm missing out on this prom and everything. And she's like, come on, focus. Even later on, it's like, oh, that song they're playing, my date, she's super out of my league, but this is her song. And Liz is like, okay, one day you're going to write a book about this, about how you helped stop, like, basically assassination attempt, and then you're going to be, like, in a whole new league of your own when it's all said and done. I also love that he is still kind of a fanboy of Reddington, because, like, when Reddington's owner, he's like, Mr. Reddington, of course, sure, yeah, Roger, got it, you know, and he's just so happy to help everything. Because I love when Liz references Tadashi, too. She's like, you know, the kid whose mom hates you, and he's like, Tadashi Ito, and it's like, yeah, I love that. He also gets Rudiger's help, Rudiger and a whole bunch of his team, which is interesting. I think this is one of the few times we've ever seen Rudiger pop up and he wasn't drunk. I mean, to be fair, I guess he only gets drunk when it comes to bomb-related stuff, and I guess that should have been a key sign because you didn't see him drinking. But like, it turns out that whole thing ended up being like a decoy situation. I also love it, like, obviously, like, this very extravagant plan they're enacting and stuff like that. They are literally breaking into, like, a black site and everything like that. Not just breaking in, but breaking out. I love the whole situation, but it's like, oh, one by one, opening the doors, wrestler, Harold, but they get captured and put inside the box that they had Reddington locked up in season 1. I'm like, it's kind of interesting how things come full circle like that. I'm like, it's almost ironic that you guys are locked up in that, and it's kind of funny. And even Donald being like, yeah, I don't have good memories about this. And it's like, right, the last time you were in this box, you were bleeding out, almost dying, so it's understandable. Man, it's like, man, I hadn't thought about none of that in, like, years. It's kind of crazy to bring that back. It's like, right, because they have subsequently utilized it, because didn't they utilize it in season 4? Oh, what was his name, dude? It's the dude in 4 who thought he was Liz's dad when he wasn't. I'm trying to figure out, wasn't the dude's name like Kirk or something? Yeah, I think that was him. Because he was played by the actor who played Kai Proctor in Banshee. But nevertheless, I think that's the last time the box has popped up in the series so far, other than now, if I remember correctly. But it's kind of like a neat little flashback. Like, more so, and obviously it feels more full circle, obviously, when you compare it like to season 1 in that regard. But nevertheless, I was like, okay, so are they going to blow up, like, the foundation and stuff like that? But the foundation blows up, we might end up getting killed with this whole situation. It's like, I know, like I said, it was all a diversion and stuff like that. You know, it's like, it's so interesting, because it's like, well, for one, it's like, you know, Reddington spent so much time here locked up before, and obviously situation led to him getting out in season 1, and now it's just kind of like, oh, here he is breaking in to break them out. Like I said, it's just the irony behind the whole situation. And lo and behold, when they actually get away, you see Anna's face. It's just, you can tell she's so flustered, because it's just like she's just kind of like, what? How the hell did this happen? She didn't say that, but her face said it all. I thought that was kind of genius. I also love that she never actually told the president later on, because it's like, oh, there's all this stuff that's supposed to go down, so we can't tell him that, though. And I love Reddington to be like, all right, we got this plan. And then Cooper's like, do we really have time to eat? And he's like, are you serious? And, like, hard cut to them eating. I'm like, this is weird, kind of seeing like this family dinner, stuff like that. Also, I love that line from around. It's like, oh yeah, like, what's the password to this thing? Samar. And he's like, okay, you know, naming like some like highly secure box thing after your girlfriend. And he's like, hey, you know, love is blind, so who am I to say anything? I love that line. But everyone in the plan has their own part to play. They're bringing in, you know, Vontae for this part. He's getting his crew together. It's like, yo, I think that'd be kind of neat. Probably get to see more Vontae potentially going forward and stuff like that too. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, obviously them sneaking in, trying to stop the president. Because I had feelings about his wife. Like, because obviously we knew about, because Reddington has brought up the whole aspect of like, oh yeah, like the whole like money to potentially use that, you know, where the money came from to use for his campaign and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. Like, because the moment his wife popped up, it's like, this is going to be like, oh, you know, just go out there. And like the way she was acting in her answer. So I was like, oh, you don't know what's going on. It's like, you want him to talk about that stuff that he's keeping secret and stuff like that. You want him to bring that to the forefront. I'm like, oh, so that's what this is about for you. But I obviously, with the context of everything, it makes it seem like she knows about him trying to kill himself and everything. But lo and behold, when he gets out there, sadly, Wrestler and, Liz stopped the situation, but it didn't change. It's just kind of like, oh, they still get arrested and everything. They're still kind of being treated like crap by, like, Homeland Security. I even love Harold being like, if you have people on your payroll, don't be opaque with me. Just literally tell me straight up. He's like, yeah, I got a few people on the payroll. So luckily, they were able to get there in time to save Wrestler, Liz, and Aram. Sandquist ended up, catching a bullet. And then, like, the surprise of it all is Anna coming up behind him being like, yo, Reddington. And it's like, Jesus. And she's like, the fact is, we're not doing this to tear down our countries. We're doing this to save it. And the fact of the matter is, they're like, if you kill Reddington, we'll kill you. She's like, I hope you do, or something like that. Lo and behold, bullet to the head. I'm like, who did that? Freaking Debbie. I'm like, what? Debbie! Now that was awesome, because even, obviously it caught Reddington by somebody. It's like, wait, what? And when it was all said and done, it's like, why did you come back? Because it's basically everything's in motion now. Some stuff that Reddington's got set up is kind of in motion and stuff. And it's like, is that why you came back? And for him, it's like, he wanted to go down his own path, and his own path brought him back to Reddington. So it's like, whether he 100% forgives Red, I don't know. But I think for him, it's like, we are too intertwined. Like, he had to kind of separate. But I think for him, it's like, no matter what, this is where I want to be. It's not necessarily, this isn't by a vow. This isn't by a promise. I think it's just simply because this is where I'm needed, and this is where I want to be. And lucky for him, like, for Red, like, Denbei came back when he did. But I did like Wrestler. I mean, I did kind of skip over it, but, like, the president's wife ended up getting shot in the whole situation. And it's like, dude, what's going on here? And, Reddington, because it took Donald figuring things out, being like, okay, this dude's an expert shot. Like, and I kept noticing it too. It's like, you had the moment, but it's just like, you keep waiting on not pulling the trigger on the president. So why is that? And it's like, Wrestler's like, yeah, there's something up with this. And then Donald kind of figures it out and then visits the president's wife. And it's like, okay, so what secrets are you hiding? And it's like, this has nothing, because this isn't even about that money like he got all that time ago that Reddington tried to blackmail him for. It's like, it's not even about that. Apparently him and his wife, like in particular Robert, was driving and he ran over a mother and her child, her son, and they kept that a secret. And that's what this has all been about, like him covering up. Like, it wasn't even about the funds weren't used to, like, win the election. It was meant to pay off so he could get his, cover stuff up so that he could get his reputation back. That's what this is all about. His wife felt, it was eating her alive, her conscience feeling bad about this. It's like, I wanted us to tell the truth. And it's like, okay, so that's where the circle backs around to. Because I was wondering if this was simply just about that money and stuff like that. But it's like, no, that this is what that's all about. And so for her, what really kind of kicked it off is because Robert, she kept pressuring him to do it, but he didn't want to do it. Because obviously it's like, he probably used the excuses of like, oh, if a president is brought down into scandal like this, the whole country would be thrown into chaos. But for her, it's like, I don't care the consequences. We need to do the right thing. We've been sitting on this for so long. And she gathered evidence to kind of force his hand. And that is what this was all about. He tried to kill his own wife. And it's like, Jesus, that's a whole other level, because make it, because he does, this way it doesn't look so suspicious now, because it looked like, oh, it would have been like a failed botched assassination. I was like, oh, my wife, what? And the sad twisted thing is, he probably already thought, probably thinking long and hard about this situation, but it's probably like, bastard probably already wrote out a will and stuff like that of like, this message to the American people, my wife, da 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 da. It's like, dude, that takes a lot to do that. And it's like, I guess you can understand like the reservations and stuff like that, but that's what this was all about. Like I said, protecting the country, because if this type of scandal would kind of throw the U.S. into chaos, it'd probably screw with like there's been scandals, but something of this degree, scandals in the past have kind of ruined a lot of presidents in certain regards, and obviously he didn't want to be another president ruined by it, but lo and behold, in the end, it still brought him down anyway. And I love him being like, it's Reddington's fault. It's like, what? How? It's all your fault. You put yourself in this position, and it's like, how does a criminal take down a president? And, you have Cooper being like, with pleasure. It's like, that is something to think about. Literally one of the most wanted criminals in U.S. history managed to take down a president. That's that's obviously he's not going to get the street credit for it, but you're like, it adds more infamy to Reddington's reputation. Like I said, it probably won't be slapped on his criminal resume, but it's still, that's kind of like bonus points to him for that whole situation. So tying into all of that, there's the whole situation with Liz finally getting, Agnes back and everything. The lady who dropped her off for Scotty, I'm blanking on her name, but isn't she from Blacklist Redemption? Wasn't she one of the people, like, wasn't she kind of like Scotty's like confidant, like second in command and everything like that? Isn't that the same? Like, it's been a while since I've seen obviously the Blacklist Redemption, but I want to say that's that same actress. It might be. Like I said, you get little winks and nod here and there with like to the Blacklist Redemption, but that's all you ever get from it, sadly. Just with everything, like I said, it's always been that thing of like, oh yeah, the show ended without us actually seeing how it ended, because like, obviously, like, it's like, oh, the moment Tom popped back in the story, everything related to the redemption got finished. We just never got to see it, so. But I've talked about that, like, was that last season? No, the season before. Yeah, last season. But nevertheless, there was also that meeting that Reddington had. I love that line of like, because Liz is like, wait, you have a meeting more important than saving the president's life? For him, it's like, I don't care about the president. I just want to get you your good old job back. The fact of the matter is, have a little fun. It's going to be a riot. But he meets with the dude. I've seen that actor in so many different things. He was in Lost, wasn't he? I'm fairly certain he was in Lost. He was definitely in Person of Interest. He played Nathan. I feel like even aside from those two, I feel like I definitely seen him in other stuff too. I just can't remember. Either way, he is meeting with Reddington, and it's like, okay, so there's a lot of stuff to kind of break down about that scene between them in regard of him being like, wait, Dom said all of this? It's like, yeah, Dom told him this and that about me, and it's like, why would he even do that? Well, because apparently, Liz's grandfather was trying to ease her mind, so it's like, hey, you don't worry too much. Like, so that Liz would kind of just move past all of it. And it kind of works out in a certain degree, I guess. But it adds a certain element to it of making you go like, so does that mean some of the stuff he told her was a lie? Like, was he lying just to get her? Like, he probably, like, because now it brings into question how much of that story was true. There's probably a lot of it that was true. Obviously, there's a lot of it left out. But I'm sure he probably twisted certain things either because that's his perspective on it. He's like, oh, I figured that this is how things went down. Or he only knows a little bit. Maybe he knows what Reddington told her, because maybe Reddington never told him the entire truth. Either way, maybe Dom does really know the entire truth, but he skewed a lot of stuff just to give Liz enough for her to be okay with everything. So that adds a whole complication to it. Like, it's also interesting too, because there's this guy and he's like, oh, I love you, and he's like, I love you too. The only reason why I love you is because I trust you. And it's like, that is kind of interesting, because like that level of people that Reddington trusts is a very, very small group of people. So who the hell is this guy? Like, what connections he has to Reddington and stuff like that. He's also the one that, has he popped up before? I feel like I would have remembered, but to be fair, once again, I've only ever seen every season of the Blacklist like once. So, and that's when they originally came out. Jeez, I can't speak today. When can I ever speaks? Either way, speaks. I'm doing it. Jeez. Nevertheless, ignore me my stupidity. But nevertheless, I'm curious, like, who he is, like, because obviously he knows everything, which is like, huh. So there's someone other than Dembe that knows everything? Is he someone that even, well, because Dembe was there when Reddington went to meet with him again, didn't he? Wasn't he? I think so, yeah. So it's someone that Dembe's aware of and stuff. So it's an associate, but it's like, that's interesting. Because that's so interesting, because like they always knew it was going to be a matter of time before Liz found out the truth about who Reddington really is and stuff. But like I said, there's still so much about that we don't know. But lo and behold, we do find out that, they tracked down Katarina, who's played by the actress. I was trying to remember. I was like, I've seen her in something recently, and it was an episode of Bull, this season of Bull. But also associated, she was like the captain or chief or lieutenant, or I can't remember her position in the ABC show Deception, which was sadly shortly lived. But it's like, oh hey, and it's like, oh, Katarina Reddington. It's like, oh, he's like, you're in danger, because there's those, Moscow was obviously looking for her. That's what Reddington's trying to do. So it's like, has he known that she's been alive this entire time? Did he actually just have to check to be like, holy crap, are you alive? Like, did Reddington, because once again, it's that, because like we know that she disappeared. and she was supposed to keep in contact with her parents, but she never kept in touch. They were both, holding out hope for that. But beyond that, it's like she never contacted her parents, so I guess that was maybe the assumption of, like, maybe she had died. Maybe that's what the whole thought process might have been. But now we see that she is in fact alive, so the question is, why now? It's like, okay, so my question then becomes like, okay, so she ends up knocking out and drugging Reddington after kissing him and everything. He's come here to save you and everything, and lo and behold, you screw him over like this. Why? So either somehow, some way, she went back and found her way back to Moscow. I don't know. Not unless you think she's working with the Cabal. Like, once again, the Cabal has kind of grown silent. I mean, they were outed and everything, but their operations were never 100% taken down. Like, I know, like, Reddington have worked so hard to kind of expose that they exist and everything, but that didn't work out the way he wanted it to. Like, he took care of, like, that one dude that was part of the Cabal. There's also the lady that Donald accidentally killed. She was part of the Cabal and everything, too. But it's like, I don't think the Cabal was ever taken out, so maybe that's something that's still in play. Maybe she's still working for them. Maybe she's working for herself. Maybe she's thinking, like, if I can turn Reddington in after all these years, I can get my family back. Because that was also the whole thing, too, of, like, Reddington obviously was like, he wants to put Liz in a position where she doesn't have to worry. So I think the whole point was he was going to try and keep her as far away from Liz because he realizes how dangerous she is. Like, this web of lies and stuff like that. He got mixed up in all of this because obviously he cares about, her. Like, they have a long history and stuff, which maybe in the future we potentially can dive deeper into that. But then the whole question becomes a thing of, like, if she's going to make moves like this, why now? Maybe for her, it's just like, maybe, living with certain choices for so long, maybe eventually it kind of weighs on you because, I mean, she hasn't been able to, she wasn't there when her mom died, she hasn't spoken to her dad, she hasn't spoken to her daughter or her granddaughter, or her daughter in particular, for years, and her granddaughter at all, so maybe that solitude is kind of weighed on her, or maybe she's just kind of becoming a criminal of all on her own. Like, I'm curious to find out what her whole deal is. The Blacklist has been renewed for a 7th season. I'm like I said, I'm so curious to find out what this all entails. Like I said, we've gotten little bits and pieces here and there about Katarina. I think this is going to be the season where all the pieces come together, that there's not going to be any more secrets that Reddington's able to keep. I mean, to be fair, he's literally in her hands, so, like, it's probably going to be almost like a game of cat and mouse of, like, I'm sure she's going to operate from the shadows, or maybe she's going to pop back into Liz's life and be like, hey, I'm still alive. Where's Reddington? Oh, man, I have no idea, and he's being kept somewhere. Like, I figured he has to be a bargaining chip. Like, maybe he's a bargaining chip, like I was trying to say earlier, to, like, Russia. If they can, like, offering, because, he was part of, he was a Russian spy, too, originally. Once again, depending on if that story was 100% the truth. So I was like, maybe getting him will be enough to kind of get Russia off, Moscow off her back long enough to kind of live her life. Once again, Reddington became quote-unquote, Reddington became who he has for the past couple decades. So who's to say Katarina hasn't changed a lot and all of that, too? Like, all that solitude of watching so much, maybe she's kept up with everything that's happened with Liz, and maybe she's kind of pissed at Reddington for not doing a better job. And it's like, I should have been there for my daughter because you just complicated things. You didn't do things the way I wanted them to be done. Like, she's in more danger because of you. So it's like, maybe I need to remove you from the board. I feel like that might not be the case. I don't know. It might even be a combination of all of it. Like I said, I feel like we're going to really get Katarina's story next season. I'm so interested to find out what that is, and especially what it's going to be like when her and Liz meet up again. There's also that angle that, once again, they've never circled back to it in the storyline. It's like, what about Jennifer? That was something I kept bringing up. I mean, Liz now knows the truth. Has she told Jennifer? Is Jennifer going to come back looking for answers? Maybe they won't bother because Jennifer's like, no, I got to step away from this. I don't want this to corrupt me. So for her, she might have given up on looking for answers. It's like her dad's gone and that's all there is to it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she heard some of the stuff because obviously Reddington's court case was very public. So also, what about that angle to it and everything of, like, the legal system and stuff like that about Reddington having, escaped, execution and everything. So what does that mean? It makes you wonder, is that ever going to be affected by the fact is, like, well, his execution got stayed and all that, so... Well, with the president getting taken down because, criminal charges are coming up against him now. So it's like, okay, so what does that mean going... Would that affect Reddington in any shape or form? Also, a big question too is like, going into this next season, like obviously Samar's on the run. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any repairing that situation. They've kind of made that clear. So, are we going to get someone new kind of taking Samar's spot, that, someone new on the squad, which is interesting. Can we actually think about it? And I think that's very fortunate. This squad has stayed the same since season 1, partway through season 1, because remember, there was an agent that Samar ended up replacing. She ended up dying in season 1. So, are we going to get a replacement? That might cause some complications with everyone. Or are we going to see Samar potentially make a return? I have no idea. Also, what about Reddington's secret? Donald made a point to be like, what I've learned about you, I'm going to keep to myself. And it's like, good. But, will Aram and Harold ever find out about that? Would it change anything? Maybe it would. Side note, now that I'm sitting here, someone might end up telling me this, but it might be a situation of like, oh no, it's been a public thing that the actress who plays Samar says she's not coming back to the show or something like that. I don't look stuff up like that. I kind of have to make a point of that, like, because I try to be as surprised as possible when stuff happens. So like a lot of outside of a show, like, oh, like, stuff like that when it comes to actors, I don't look that stuff up because I don't want to know, because I feel like it's just gonna, because I'm invested in the show, so I don't want to think about that stuff ahead of time and stuff like that. So I usually don't look that stuff up until like the next season. Then I'll probably be like, oh, surprised when certain things happen, or not surprised. You get what I'm trying to say. So that's just where my mindset is. I figure I should probably also, add that in there as well. So either way, I'm very excited to see what season 7 has in store for us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.